Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. 4 years ago, I did a series of videos on why I believe you should stop using PayPal for selling items if you're a business who is accepting money via PayPal. In these 3 videos, my thesis is very simple. They used to refund the transaction fee when you refunded the customer, and now they are no longer doing that. Because PayPal is a giant corporation with very large brand recognition, once they start doing something that is anti-consumer, everybody else is going to look and go, they managed to do something that's making them millions more dollars and they got away with it. Maybe we can do that. And then it actually will become an industry standard. What they decided to do is no longer refund the transaction fee when you refund a customer. So just to explain this very simply, when you pay me for something with a credit card, you're not actually giving me $100. If you pay $100 for something, you're giving me $100 minus the transaction fees that the payment processor charges me, which with PayPal is 2.9% of the total transaction amount plus 30 cents. So on a $100 transaction, that is going to be $2.90 plus the 30-cent transaction fee. The problem here is that they've decided to no longer refund that 2.9%. In the past, if I refunded you because you purchased the wrong item, I would have to eat the 30-cent transaction fee, but I would not eat the percentage fee. And the reason that this is a serious issue is twofold. A, if you buy a $1,000 item and then you call me up 1 minute later and say, I made this order in error, there is no reason that I should have to eat a $29 fee for this. Secondly, the amount of computational resources that it costs to process that transaction does not change whether it is a $10 transaction or a $100,000 transaction. Regardless of whether it is a $10 transaction or a $100,000 transaction, it costs the exact same amount of bandwidth and computational resources to process that transaction. So I understand you saying that 30-cent flat fee, we're not refunding you. But to not refund the 2.9% fee, in addition to that, that just seems like you're just trying to take as much money from me as humanly possible and screw over the vendor. And the problem with this type of thing becoming standard is that it's going to affect the way that merchants like myself at small businesses give refunds. If you call me a few minutes after you purchased the wrong item on my website and say, Louis, I made a serious mistake. I'm so sorry. If you didn't ship it yet, can you refund me? The difference is if I'm only eating 30 cents, whatever, I'll just refund you, no restocking fee. However, if I am eating a $29 fee because I refunded you your money on your order, this creates a point of conflict. Either A, I have to increase my prices across the board to deal with the fact that I am now paying $29 to refund you, or B, I have to make you pay me $29 to cancel your order. If you have to pay me $29 to cancel your order, you're going to be mad at me. You're going to leave me a 1-star review. I'm going to have a worse review. I'm going to have a worse reputation as a business as a result of it. Conversely, if I increase my prices across the board in order to deal with this, now my prices are more expensive. I cost more than other merchants that are not dealing with this, and that makes me less competitive as a merchant. Regardless of how you view it, regardless of whether I make that fee the customer's responsibility or my responsibility, the reality is that companies like Walmart and Amazon that can afford to create their own merchant processing networks, they're not dealing with these fees, which means that they will not only get better ratings because they're not going to have to charge their customers this fee when they refund them, but they're also going to be able to have lower prices because they're not going to have to build this into their business model. This is something that once it becomes standard across all payment processors will result in small businesses having less competitive ability against larger businesses than they have now. And I think it could be argued at this point in time that the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world are destroying small businesses left and right. Putting stuff like this in the way of it is really not going to do us any good. Stripe also does this now that PayPal does it, and as I mentioned recently, Square is doing it too. In this video titled Square Merchant Services Screws Customers, that's industry standard now, I'm following up on the video that I did 4 years ago when I said that if PayPal gets away with it, everybody will get away with it, and pointing out the reality that Square is getting away with it. So this comes from a viewer who is using Square for his merchant services, who I hope switches off Square to go to something else, and it says, Square, reminder, update to your Square account. Hi. As a reminder, there will be a change to Square's refund policy effective as of June 6, 2023. Processing fees will no longer be refunded to your account when you issue full or partial refunds to your customers. You may wish to update your return policy for your customers in order to account for this policy change. So here's what's going to happen. Many people may just eat the cost. As a result, they'll be able to pay their employees less. Their cost of doing business may go up. The cost of their products and services may go up. Or what they'll do is they'll pass it on to the customer, which means that the customer, when they go to Amazon or Walmart, They have a hassle-free shopping experience. They can hit the cancel button just fine. But when you deal with a small business website, oh, that's when you're going to get hit with a fee because you wanted to cancel your order 2 minutes after you made it. What that's going to do is that's going to tell more and more customers you should be buying from Amazon. You should be buying from Walmart. You should be buying from corporations worth more than $1 trillion rather than your mom and pop small business store. That's, in my opinion, not a great thing. So what I did is I switched off and now I use Chase Payment Tech. There are a lot of things that are wrong with Chase Payment Tech. Can I just be honest about that? When you deal with their customer service, I have had people at Chase Bank literally spend 2 hours on the phone with the people at Chase Payment Tech that damn near wanted to cry because of how incompetent they can be on a number of different things. The reason that I'm willing to deal with them is because in spite of how horrible their customer service is, in spite of how horrible it is dealing with them in many different ways, A, their fees are considerably lower than Square or PayPal, but more importantly, they don't do this type of thing. And I am willing to make a sacrifice in one area if it means that I don't have to deal with the normalization of not refunding the transaction fee. Because in spite of how aggravating it is to deal with them on setting up the account and everything else, once the account is set up and good, it's pretty much an autopilot from there. I can use that thing for 5 or 6 years and not have any issue at all. And I would much rather deal with a merchant services provider that is not a part of normalizing this, because the moment this type of stuff becomes normal, you can kind of kiss your local small business goodbye. And you may think that this is just me being a slippery slope fallacy and everything else, but let's be real here. Over the past 5 to 10 years, have any of these companies taken moves to give their consumers or their vendors more freedom? If you look at what Amazon has done, Amazon has taken away your ability to sell refurbished products unless you're authorized by Apple. eBay is starting to do a lot of the same stuff. PayPal and all these merchants are now not refunding the fee if you refund your customer, which again, you bet your ass merchant services processing for Amazon and Walmart ain't doing. As time goes on, life is getting more and more difficult in every single way if you are a normal average person, a normal average business, and not a $1 trillion company. And even if it means that I deal with a little bit of aggravation and resistance, I'm willing to deal with that. I'm willing to give up the beautiful interface that you get when you deal with Square to deal with the 1997-ish looking website that you get with Payment Tech, if it means that I'm not dealing with this type of garbage. I don't want to normalize this, and dare I say it, you shouldn't either. If you are using PayPal for your business, I would highly suggest looking into getting off of it as soon as possible. And if you use Square for your business, I would also highly suggest looking to get off of it as soon as possible. And again, in certain areas, you're not going to be able to do that. 95% of my credit card processing is not done by PayPal or Stripe. A small amount is because for certain things, it's literally my only option that I have. But I've taken about 95% of my revenue off of it, which is something that I'm willing to live with. And at some point, I would like for 100% of it to be off of that. If this is something that matters to you, I would highly suggest that you consider switching your merchant services away from a provider that has this type of what, in my opinion, is predatory as a practice. Again, the cost for them to process a refund, computationally speaking, is the same, regardless of whether you're refunding $10 or $10,000. So to charge you more money to refund somebody a higher amount of money when it takes the same amount of computational and bandwidth resources is insane. And dare I say it, 30 years ago, when bandwidth was more expensive, when computing power was more expensive, 30 years ago when the power that you had inside of a Pentium 2 would have been considered a supercomputer, we did not have to deal with these fees. But we're dealing with them now? When computing resources cost virtually nothing? When the cost of bandwidth is down to virtually nothing? Now is the time that we're implementing this? No. I think a line in the sand needs to be drawn. I think business owners need to band together and say, we are not going to be abused. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.